Hi everyone, it's Monday the 30th.
And we are still in our stay-at-home order from the governor. Watched his 2:30 news conference today and no update. The very first question that came up in the Q&A was the question of, is it going to be extended? And he said that it's still very much a fluid situation. There's information and significant scientific information that's coming at him on a daily basis. And just as soon as he gets to a point where he feels like a decision would be the right thing to do, he will make it and inform everyone. So as of right now, the stay-at-home order still goes through April 7th. So that's that. I know the Chicago schools are closed through a different time through the end of April, and other things will follow as we go. I will tell you personally that today has probably been the highest pressure day since the first day, the highest one since the first day. And I think it's because right now with the bill, the Coronavirus Emergency CARES Act being passed, everybody's got something to say right now. So the noise is incredible. You flip through Facebook, Instagram, your emails, everyone's coming out with something to say on this particular piece of legislation. Here's the reality. The piece of legislation is 810 pages long. I do not personally believe that there are experts yet, including the people who passed it, on this legislation. There's a lot there, and it's predominantly good, if not great news. It's especially good for small to medium-sized businesses that qualify. And so I think that there's a lot to digest. We are, today has been constant contact with mostly the accounting world. And that's kind of where I want to start, is that we're going to share some things that are based on our understanding at this moment. Neither Terry nor I are accountants. Neither Terry nor I are attorneys. We're small business people just like you. We have laid off our staffs just like you. We are trying to sort out from all the noise, we're trying to find the voice that rings the most true in a very rapid way so that we can begin the application process moving forward, and at the same time coach you, on how to take those steps for yourself.
So we're going to focus on a couple of things today so we don't overwhelm everyone.
Right.
And then we'll come back Wednesday or daily if we need to and unpack this information. Mm-hmm. Right? So which ones do you want to do today?
Well, the first one would be the Payroll Protection Program. That's one of the segments. It's a $350 billion segment of the CARE Act itself. And I want to start with the fact that what makes this so appealing is that it is for our business, not just our business, it's for small to medium-sized business, less than 500 employees. That's all of us for the most part. The initiative provides a fully 100% backed government federally guaranteed loans. And more importantly, that these loans have the ability to be forgiven, meaning they don't have to be paid back, provided a couple of things. So we're going to put our attention toward that particular loan today, and want to start with the fact we'll kind of go according to what the Chamber of Commerce, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, put out in their documents. The first thing is, are you eligible? Am I eligible? And the answer is, if you're a small to medium-sized business with less than 500 employees. So I think we're all still in there. An individual who operates as a sole proprietor whether you have employees or not. An individual who operates as an independent contractor.
So it's any of these, it's not a combination.
It's
You have
any of these.
Any of these, so even the first one,
So
everyone qualifies.
yes, so these are all still, am I eligible?
Yes.
Am I eligible if I got less than 500 employees? Yes. Am I eligible if I'm a sole proprietor? Yes. Am I eligible if I'm an independent contractor?
And the only
Yes.
employee, yes.
Yes.
Good.
Am I eligible if I'm self-employed and regularly carry on in a trade or a business?
Yes.
Yes.
Good,
Okay?
so everyone's eligible.
So of that group, not everybody on the planet, but those people.
Our audience.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. And so the next question is, what are lenders going to be looking for? And I think that's important too, because I think we've all been through this, this process of trying to understand how bankers make decisions on who they loan money to. How does the federal government, you've heard about SBA loans, but most people have told you that SBA loans are very difficult to go through the paperwork, and you're very limited after that fact with your mobility to take on any additional debt should you need to scale larger after you've made that original loan. So what this is they'll be looking for if you were in business prior to February 15th of 2020. So your business has to have been active and in business prior to February 15th, 2020.
And recognized as a business.
Yeah, yeah, a legal entity doing business. And had employees for whom they paid basic salaries and payroll taxes and paid independent contractors. So again, that's what they're going to be looking for. Were you a legal entity? Were you doing business? Did you have payroll? Did you collect payroll taxes, or were they independent contractors? Lenders will also be looking for a good faith certification, meaning that they want you to say these following things. That the uncertainty of current economic conditions makes the loan request necessary to support your ongoing operations. So it's these market conditions, coronavirus, COVID-19, the stay-at-home order, closing our businesses, being ordered to close our businesses, going from revenue to almost nothing, if not nothing. So those are the circumstances that have brought about this need. Next, this is what you can use the money for, to retain workers and maintain payroll or make mortgage, lease, and utility payments. So it's not only payroll, but it's the payroll taxes, it's all of the things that figure into payroll. They're very specific on what goes into payroll. And they're very specific on what goes into utilities. It's not just water, electric, and gas. It's also the cost of internet and other some other things along with that.
Operational, yes.
Operational. Borrower does not have an application pending for a similar loan anywhere else. So
Fair.
that's pretty simple. No duplicate loans for that purpose. And
so here's the question on
Sure.
that. If I tried to declare my business as a loss right now with insurance, they would perceive that as double dipping as well, right?
you would think that would be up
I
to.
would think.
Yeah, I mean, if they were closing the door and saying I lost this, yeah, I would think. But remember, the purpose of this is
To get the business back on its feet.
yeah, absolutely. So, and it says here from February 15th to December 31st of 2020, the borrower has not received a loan for duplicate. So, in other words, you can't have put in for a duplicate loan, get this PPP loan, and then go out and get a loan based on the same criteria after the fact. So not before and not after. That's what they're saying.
What happens if you were in the process of getting a loan to expand your business? Not to maintain it, not to keep it open, but you outgrew it and all of a sudden this approached us, or you were even trying to get a loan for a second location or something.
There's a handful of thoughts on that. First of all, my suggestion would be
Halt.
that you back away from that type of financing and look toward which of the many packages that could be available under this relief package, stimulus package, as a result of the coronavirus and COVID-19.
And protect what is right now versus.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't necessarily a time. We're looking we're looking for loss aversion, right? And we're looking to maneuver our businesses back once we come back to break even. This is not going to be your year where you're through the roof profitable or you know that 15 or 8 to 20% growth rate. That's probably not going to happen unless you're in the toilet paper business, and we're not. So, and I'm glad we're not. So if you look here, it says it's also, they'll be looking for, if you're an independent contractor, sole proprietor, or self-employed individual, lenders will also be looking for certain documents. Final requirements will be announced by the government. So it's not even done yet. So all this noise that's out there, this is our information in time. There's a lot of noise.
Well, I think that what's going to happen here, it's very much like a bank requiring a business plan, right? We need to go back and say, what do we need here? Because it's not just an open-ended dollar amount. There's still going to be a formula of some sort.
There is a formula.
Right.
And we're gonna
We'll
cover
cover
that.
that too. Okay.
So here's what they won't look for, which is what makes this so unusual from a bank standard.
Okay. Ready.
The borrower sought and was unable to obtain credit elsewhere. They're not going to look for that. They're not going to say, that's typically what SBA is.
Yeah, they're
You've
not
got to
gonna
show
say-
you got turned down by X number of banks or a bank.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So they're not going to look for that. If you've been turned down or not, they don't care at this point. They're not going to look for a personal guarantee.
Okay.
Which is huge.
That is huge.
And no collateral is required for this loan,
Well, that makes sense if it's going to be forgiven anyway.
right? No
Yes.
collateral. So you don't personally guarantee it. You don't put your house up, etc. So there's a lot of very attractive things that go along with this. So here is the formula for how much you can borrow. And I want to give you that formula right off the bat. It's payroll, the sum of included payroll costs.
So why don't we do a couple of, I thought we were going to do them today, but a couple of slides for them to recap the 3 things that we're covering today. And that way we can have it on there, right?
Or we'll post it to our Facebook page,
Facebook page.
and later on after
Good.
we stop this session.
Good.
So the sum of included payroll costs minus the sum of excluded payroll costs to come up with what your total payroll cost is.
Give an example.
Well, let's look at what's excluded. Compensation of an individual employee in excess of an annual salary of $100,000.
Okay.
So when you look at all your people, if they have, if they're making in excess of $100,000 per year, those people are going to be deducted. The amount that's over $100,000 will be deducted. And as prorated during the time of this loan for when they factor forgiveness. And that's February 15th to June 30th, 2020.
I think that's a hard one to stomach a little bit because your highest producers are many times the ones that are carrying the business anyway. So for that to be excluded,
It is a tough one.
that is a tough one
And
to
it's an
swallow.
arbitrary number, which is also tough.
Well, and not to mention is, one of the things we have to keep in mind here too is, remember it's 100,000 that's documented service dollars or payroll to match. Doesn't include the gratuities, right?
Right.
Okay.
So payroll taxes and income taxes are excluded. Any compensation of an employee whose principal place of residence is outside of the United States. And I didn't highlight some of these, and I really didn't intend on reading that one because I don't think we have that. So when you get to your net payroll cost, you take that times 2.5, which is 2.5 months. You come up with your monthly payroll cost times 2.5.
So your monthly payroll costs, not weekly or bi-weekly, monthly,
Monthly.
4 weeks.
So let's say you've got $100,000 a month payroll, just as an example.
Good.
So you would, in this case, that was your net qualifying payroll cost. You would qualify for $250,000 worth of loan under this. And then there's a formula to see how much of it would be forgiven based on achieving what was set out to be achieved by this. So they're giving you money, first of all, without any personal guarantee, without any collateral. They're telling you how they're going to figure it, so there's no mystery there. It's this dollar amount times this times 2.5. And then they're going to say, this is how it will be forgiven.
All right, so let's go back before we move on. When I look at my payroll, it's my entire payroll. So let's say I do $100,000 a month, $25,000 a week. Okay, I'm good with that. And then I get my payroll. Am I doing my deduction first? And how much is my deduction? How do I figure in the $100,000 a year employee? My deduction, how do I figure that? Because we're only doing 1 month's worth of payroll.
Well, you're looking back. This is based on January and February's payroll.
I understand.
So you're looking back based on that to come up with your payroll expense.
But what's your deduction though? To exclude, what's the formula for excluding? What dollar amount? Based on 100,000 times 52 weeks? I mean, that's what's difficult to figure out. How many 100,000, I mean, I don't have 100,000 the first 2 months of 2020.
Annual salary, so you're prorating that. So let's say somebody earned $20,000 in the first 2 months. So they're on pace for $120,000 a year. They earn $10,000 the first month, $10,000 the second month. They're on pace for $120,000.
Right?
The way I understand it, and again, that's what CPAs are for and bankers are for. The way I understand it, the $20,000 would not be allowed. That they would be
In that formula.
In that formula, only $100,000 would be allowed. Okay.
There's going to be questions on that.
Okay. And again, please.
There should be.
Please understand that again, this was passed Friday afternoon. Most people that have put forth, and believe me, all weekend long, we were getting things sent to us from you have no idea, all the different companies and people that
And
sent,
associations.
reputable people that sent it. But some of the regs to this haven't even been written yet. The banks, if you were to go to a bank, most banks aren't even familiar with this yet. They know it's out there, but they don't know any details. And yet there's all this pressure because as business people, we have time because of the stay-at-home order. 2, because it's big news and it also is big worry for the majority of us, and also big need. So we're looking at this. It's not as simple as following a link on Facebook. I promise you, it's not that simple. It's simple, but it's not that simple. You're still going to need the right accountant, a good accountant.
Well, and I keep saying to you, you know what? 810 pages. How many different sources did you send me over? And I thought, and we used a good illustration today.
Oh yeah, something that I've always said. This could be too much information for all of you, but
Which story are you telling?
one of the things that I wanted to tell you is that I've told Terry in our years of marriage.
Yeah, we're not getting any extras done at home because all you want to do is
I am not
work.
I am not a handyman.
No.
I have some recent handyman success under my belt, however, but I am not really a handyman.
Recent. What was it?
I took care of the faucet.
Oh, that's right.
I took care of the garbage disposal.
Okay.
And there was something else.
And I laughed during the whole time.
So anyway,
Yeah, okay.
those are things.
It's not natural for you.
No, it's
Yes.
not. And I don't make it look easy, I make it look difficult. So what you need to know is that if we were to get something, we would never shop, I would never shop at IKEA, even though I admire them as a company, because IKEA comes with everything broken down in a little box, little square box. And it comes with an instruction paper that opens up like a map. Mm-hmm. And it has all these pictures, and it has all these arrows, and it has all these part numbers and sizes and this and that. And to me, I can't read them. I can't. I can handle shampoo, I can handle hair color, I can handle a lot of things, but I can't handle that. I look at it and I see the whole thing. I can't see any one part of it. I can't focus on any one part of it.
So when he sent me the documentation that he wanted to discuss today, I said this is equivalent to folding out a big page for most owners. And I said, let's take this one step at a time. I mean, we can't just not do it because it's overwhelming. When you start looking at directions, your eyes just dart everywhere. And I can see owners doing that too. They would rather do 18 heads of hair in 2 hours than do this.
Absolutely.
Right? And I get that. And that's why we're trying to guide you through. The biggest thing I keep saying to him is make this easy. Make this easy. It doesn't matter how much we know. It matters how much we can help you through this process.
Here's what I think our role is. Since we've already told you, we're not accountants and we're not lawyers and we're not bankers. What we are is small business people, just like you, with people on unemployment right now, just like you. And our role is to be the purveyors of hope. I want you to leave this not with, oh my God, this is overwhelming, because it is, but we want you to leave saying, we can do this, and we need to do this for the overall health of our business going forward when we come out of this. Mm-hmm. When you have the opportunity to get help, which doesn't come very often, from the federal government for your small business, and they'll forgive it, that's amazing. You got to take it. You got to hang in there. You got to stay in there. Same thing for your people. We said this on Friday's live. If you have people that work with you that have not yet put in their paperwork for unemployment, please handhold them.
Exactly.
Step them through it. Do whatever it takes. Assign one person who's done it to the people who need the help. Because there's a very strong part. Remember we said 810 pages. There's a lot of different things covered. One of the things that's covered is there's an increase of the unemployment benefit to the tune of $600 per person per week. That's huge. You take that times what the Illinois benefit, I think, is $451.
$471.
And you add 600 to it. Now, people are going to be able to get by. They might not be making what they were. Some will make more than what they were. I had one salon owner tell me today, he said, I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to get people back to work after we come back to work because they will
It's going
honestly make more money.
471 plus 600?
Plus 600.
Oh boy.
So,
I thought it went 471 to 600.
No.
Okay.
so please make sure your people fill out their unemployment and stay with it. Don't let them say, well, I was unemployed and I collected for 39 weeks before I came to work here. Or I've only been here for a month. There will be reasons why they may have disqualified themselves.
But don't do it because you didn't enroll.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't let them disqualify themselves. Let the Unemployment Security Office tell you that you don't that you don't have a claim. All right, so make sure that's done. The other thing is, to double back, ours is to give you hope. And the hope is that there's a very specific definition of what payroll costs are, what interest on your mortgage if you own your building, what your lease amount was, what the utilities are, electric, gas, water, transportation, telephone, or internet. Those things all are figured in. Transportation, all are figured into the payroll expense. One thing, and this only makes sense, I don't even know why they put it in print. The loan forgiveness cannot exceed the principal amount. Okay? So, when you think about that, it's a loan. There will be interest charged on it. And depending on how big the loan is, depends on the interest. The top amount, the most interest that's going to be charged on this is 4%. Goes from 4% to 3.75 to 3.5 to 3.25. So they're low interest loans. Any way you look at it, you're going to owe the interest on this money, even though the debt is forgiven. The principal has the potential to be forgiven. You're going to wind up paying the interest itself. How could the forgiveness be reduced? What would have to take place so that you weren't forgiven all of the amount of the loan? Mm-hmm. And so what it says here, and I'm going to read it, and again, you need to find out from your accountant how this is going to work. The amount of loan forgiveness calculated above is reduced if there is a reduction in the number of employees. So you said you were taking it for payroll protection, and during this time, you didn't bring people back. You had less people, less employees, and then they would reduce it potentially. Or a reduction greater than 25% in wages paid to employees. So you might have the same number of people, but let's say you negotiated hey, come back, we're not fully back yet. I'm going to pay you a salary that's the equivalent of 50% of what you made before. So all of a sudden, you took the money, you used it differently than what you said you were going to use it for. You reduced it. It didn't get to the person that, or the people, the staff that it was intended for, and so will.
That's tricky in our business because we're not going to give payroll out. No, wait a minute. Let me see if I get this right. How do I give payroll out when the traffic hasn't returned to support the volumes that we were doing? You don't understand what I'm asking?
No.
Okay, so when we look at February, right? Mm-hmm. January to what?
Well, January, February is the base that they're going to be using.
So this is what I lost, right? I closed my business when, in most cases?
Middle of March.
All right. So then I come back. Now I'm paying them for lost business here. And we don't even know when it's going to be completely done because it's going through. That's why they're saying June, right? Mm-hmm. Open my business back up, I could have people not return, so that could be part of my forgiveness. I could have traffic not come back into my business. Mm-hmm.
They could allow everybody else to come back. This is the June 30th date is the part that I think with the president coming out and saying that the stay-at-home order or the social distance, physical distance order may extend. He's suggesting it goes until April 30th. There's no guarantee that salons will come back at that point, mm-hmm. or sooner, or later. So it's something that is yet to be seen. And since we're already at April 1 and everything was based on an April 1 start, and none of the loans are going to be dispersed by April 1, I think that June 30th date could be adjusted. Mm-hmm. But again, listen to your accountant. There's also some good information on here that talks about, it gives you the examples of where your full-time employees were. It gives you the example of where your wages were. I'm not going to take the time to read that. It's very specific, but any accountant could help you with that. And if they could.
So you are sending a link, and that's the last step we're covering today, right? I mean, that's a lot.
That's the last step we're covering today.
I think it's important because now we know we've got this. Now we've got to follow the rules, which you need to get out these 3 pages out as quickly as possible so they can forward them to their accountant if they haven't seen it yet. They can start doing their spreadsheets and calculations based on their software, right? Because they know all of that thus far. The end date is difficult. How do we determine? Because when the fear came in, it started to be, when did we really slow down? We might have been mandated to close, but our businesses were affected.
Well, we closed the 20th,
Our
20th,
business was
19th, 18th,
affected
17th.
the week before.
17th is when it really tanked. Our business tanked starting on the 17th of March.
Okay.
And
Well, yeah, okay.
no, I'm sorry, 17th, 16th, 15th. That whole week, the week of the March 15th on, we started to see, I think I mentioned we had a 30% reduction, then a 50% reduction, and then the business all of a sudden was 10% or less of what it normally is. So we experienced that, which means you experienced that. We're a direct reflection of what the salons are experiencing. If you aren't requiring the product because you don't have guests that are sitting in your chair, you don't need it from us. And so we were a reflection of that.
Well, and I like that also this presentation is talking about the expenses that go in your formula too. All of that.
Now, 810 pages. There's a lot in this bill. There's a fair amount that doesn't apply to us. There's a couple of more key things that do apply to us. So we told you about the Paycheck Protection Program. We made little mention about what's going to happen with the unemployment bump up from this. So please be sure you take care of that. And then we'll also be talking about some interesting opportunities to perhaps refinance some of the debt that you have currently, if you're in that situation, and a couple of other things that are
We can do that on Wednesday.
really pertinent that we'll talk about on Wednesday. So I think what I want to close with is coming back to what we originally set out to do with these. And as I mentioned earlier, it was to offer hope. It was to say we are alone together as an industry. I learned during Katrina that we need to take care of our own. During Katrina and the relief efforts for that, 100% of my focus and the industry's focus was on hairdressers. And 100% of our focus relative to what's going on right now with COVID-19 is on hairdressers.
Well, what's amazing is look at what the small business owners are, and not just in the beauty industry, but what they're able to enjoy because of the relationships they created in the community, whether people are buying gift cards or purchasing their services in advance, leaving gratuities. A lot of that is happening right now. And the salons, I know you're grateful for it. And also your customers are saying they want you back on your feet after this is all over. They want you to come back even stronger, right?
Absolutely. They want you in business. See, what you do is you see people, you listen to people, and you help them to feel better about themselves when they leave than when they came in. Hairdressers, barbers, estheticians, massage therapists, you have all done that always as part of the service. There's a people side of our business that's second to none. And that's what so many of you are missing so terribly, is that you're not in touch face to face, hand to hand, so to speak, with your guests. And they miss it too. That's the key. Your guest misses it, you miss it, and we have to make sure that we're looking forward to what's our business going to look like when we come back.
Well, some of the posts that are, I'm finding humor in them. And it's about, look at the new trend that's going to be coming out. And it's women with, 2 or 3 inches of gray showing, and nails that have outgrown or eyebrows that look like a unibrow and so on and so forth. But all those messages are really saying how much they love being fussed over and being taken care of and being in an expert's hands and with skilled hands and skilled hearts. And that's what the part I'm enjoying most. You know, when in doubt right now, put a hat on.
Absolutely. And that whole conversation that says, wait for me, wait for me, wait for me, show me your roots, you come back and celebrate with us, and all of those things are so interesting and so important to communicate. Because if we don't communicate, our people are just going to go out and buy a box color. Not because they want to, but because they think they have to. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to say again, because I've said this on several of the live casts, I do not think it is appropriate for any stylist to be delivering formulas of color or professional hair color to guests curbside for them to do at home. I saw an example yesterday where someone even included a magazine to read while their color was processing in the take-home bag. A magazine to read, a disposable brush, a disposable bowl, developer, hair color, and I thought, you know what? Here's what I've believed my whole life. What you do is a product of what you know, and the amount of time and education and talent that you put in.
Don't give
it's
that
not.
away.
Don't
That's
give
right.
it away, and it's not the magic is in the bottle. It's what's in the bottle, what's in the tube, plus you equals more.
And that's not something, your excellence can't be given away at a curb. We have a really hard time with that.
And plus, many of you are, if you're doing that, you're taking risk. You're just flat taking risk because the warranties are void on the product because it's not labeled for retail sale. Mm-hmm. The state laws may prevent it. Mm-hmm. So let's carry ourselves in the most professional way, in the kindest way. Let's make sure that what we're extending, I'm starting to see some bickering going on a lot of the stylists and salon sites that are out there, social media, and people are trying to be the most right.
Yeah, I think right now during this difficult, questionable time, I don't think you should ever compromise integrity, and that's what we have to protect during this time. There's nothing we can do to service our guests. We know what we'll do when we return, but let's just be careful. That's what we want to say too. Just be careful, because you could be putting yourself and your salon and maybe even your teammates at risk by doing this. I think about, thank goodness we're not giving bleach out. I haven't heard that yet, but that also, I mean, you know what? I follow a recipe. I'm going to tell you this because when I cook, I do a lot of things by watching it, but I think, ooh, I'm just going to put a little bit more of that in there, mm-hmm. right?
Or if a little's good, a lot's better.
A lot's better.
Or if it says 20 minutes, 25,
exactly.
Maybe it'll last longer.
Don't leave me alone with that recipe. Unless I'm watching the person that wrote the recipe, I probably never follow it exactly. My worry is they'll get home and start playing beauty shop, and they're not going to follow the rules mm-hmm. exactly. Just like I don't.
So again, we're all in this together.
Yes.
We believe in you. Thank you for the trust that you've placed.
Would you leave the papers alone?
No, I got to play with them. You see them, they're fun. It's just what I do.
I'm going home.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your trust.
And we'll see you Wednesday.
We will get through this. Stay well, stay positive, and remember that when we can't, when what we're facing is fear, the answer is look upwards and turn to faith. With God we have faith. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.